Debra shared the powerful decision to stop apologizing and start living on her own terms. Let's get into it.
Well, your business and your life, the things you apologize for, it crosses over. And one of the things that was big for me too, as when I was in fight or flight, when I was in freeze, there's a fourth version of that, and that's called fawn. And it seemed weird. That's a baby deer, by the way. A fawn is a baby deer. So when you're in freeze, you're deer in the headlights, and the fawn is a baby deer. But fawn, when it's fight or flight, it is people pleasing at its worst. Right? So it's people pleasing to avoid conflict. It's over apologizing to avoid conflict, to make sure somebody's not upset with you. I don't want this person to be upset with me. So I'm going to apologize. I'm going to rearrange this date. I'm going to try to make this work. I'm going to make everything okay so that no one's mad at me. So I'm not generating conflict. That is a fight or flight response. And people that do it are compelled to do it. And I found myself in that spot. It's a codependency, and it's a fearfulness that if somebody's upset with you and you have conflict, you're going to have to fight, right? It's like fight or flight. You can't process it. You're kind of stuck in that. And so you try to appease and talk them out of it and apologize a lot. So oftentimes when people are over apologizing, it's a fight or flight response, and grounding will pull you out of that if you feel compelled to fix something because somebody's upset. But the biggest thing for me, and it spills over into business too, is watering myself down to make someone else feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. So I shrank. And as women, we learn very early to shrink. And I think men do too. They just don't talk about it as much, and they rib each other a little bit more than the women, and girls are much more judgy as opposed to just ribbing somebody and giving them a hard time. And so we often will say something and then, oh, I wish I wouldn't have said that. Why did I say it like that? Why did I? And then you go and you try to fix that and you apologize for making, so I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. I would change the way I dressed. I would change what I said or how, right, to make all of that's a form of apologizing, to modify your behavior because you're making somebody else uncomfortable. And so that is the one thing that I stopped apologizing for that changed my life in multiple ways. I'm not going to apologize for who I am. I'm not going to water myself down to make someone else feel comfortable. If something that I do or say makes you upset, then you should seek help, because your emotions are your responsibility, not mine. And I'm just living my life. And if you think that I'm having a second thought about what I've said to you, like, when somebody would say something to you and you just can't let it go and it's just in your mind and you're thinking about yes, I'm having a conversation. She made me so upset and I've got this conversation I'm going over in my mind. And I promise you, I'm not doing that. Right. So if you're doing that about a conversation we had that I said something and now you're pissed, and that Debra, she's such a bitch and she's got this, you should know I have not had a second thought about it, because I'm not apologizing for who I am. And I can be really intense. I'm a Scorpio and I'm direct and honest, and I can be very intense and I'm opinionated, and I will tell you. And I'm no longer going to shrink and apologize for it. I don't purposely try to hurt someone's feelings, and I don't call people names. I don't do mean things, but I will be intense. If you ask my opinion about something in marketing and I am not this person and I'm focused, then you're going to get a very direct, unemotional answer. Mm-hmm. And it oftentimes feels like I'm mad. But I'm not. I just don't feel one way or the other about it. I just answered directly, and now I'm back to what I was doing. But man, it makes people upset sometimes. And I would feel bad. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. And I wish I wouldn't have why do I do that? Why am I like this? Why do I say all of that? Man, I know thousands of women out there are doing that right now, because I lived in that place too. And that is what I stopped. And it gives you a sense of loving yourself for everything. Those parts of me are often not as likable as the part you guys are getting to talk to. right? I ran big marketing departments and had lots of employees, and I can be really direct. And but there's a part of my personality that is very analytical and nerdy. And if I didn't want to look cute, I would have unmatching wrinkled clothes and a pocket protector because I just love all these crazy facts and weird knowledge. And so I will say things and do things, and that part of me is important. She's smart and she's motivated, and she also is on my creative self all the time. We like she's the one. We can't let her be in charge, but she's important, that part of me. It's a very important part of who I am. And I learned to love her and appreciate her. And my friend Christina, my former co-host, she'll call me and she'll say, "What are you doing? Are you doing something creative? She don't want to pop me out of that over into this part of me that's very." We call her marketing VP Debra, because that part of me, right, was in charge, and that has expectations of everybody, and because that's what you have to run that big thing. But we don't want her out here amongst us. Not now. We're not equal. So she would call me and she would say, "Well, I was hoping I could talk to marketing director Debra, but I don't want to screw up your day. What's she doing?" Right? Because I need help with something that's going to require that part of you, but I don't want to mess up your day when you have to bring her forth. Because now she's like, "Why haven't you gotten this done? And why aren't you getting on? We got to get right." She's the taskmaster, that part of I'm very blessed. I can be super creative, but I'm also very analytical and very businessy. And those two oftentimes, right, are contrary to one another. But that part of me that I didn't love quite so much, and that I was sensitive about, and that embarrassed me in public sometimes, and that part of us that sometimes people have a negative reaction to, is important, and they're part of you for a reason. You can't take them away. You can't take that away. God made you just like that for a reason. So understand that part of you and stop apologizing for it, right?
Yes. Amen to that.
Stop
It's call
apologizing.
your multiple personalities. You remind me of that
Yes.
movie. What was it with? I think Bruce Willis also was on that. The Glass House, The Shift. Remember the guy that had multiple personalities?
Oh, yeah. I do remember that now. And
Yeah,
like
it's
one
like,
of them
yeah.
was crazy, and one of them. So it is kind of
He
like
had
that.
like
We all
16 personalities.
Well, and we all have different aspects of our
Yeah.
personality, and the ones that we outwardly show everyone, when part of us creeps out that isn't part of the part that's shown, then everybody's like, "Oh, wow, what was that about?" But oftentimes those are really critical parts that we've hidden.
Yeah.
We've hidden to get along and be liked. And the truth is, you just have to find the people that are going to love you and like you for who you are. And those
Yeah, the whole
relationships are really,
you.
yes.
The whole
So
you.
just, and not from a triggered place, because that's, when we're emotionally triggered, we can bite anybody's head off. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that part of you that you've naturally been like before in a situation, and then somebody reacted negatively and you went, "Oh," and you took that step backwards and apologized. Even if you didn't say it out loud, you apologized and you were hard on yourself. "I'm not going to do that again. That was a bad experience." But so you shrank part of yourself and you apologized for it, even if you didn't say it out loud. So cut that out. Stop that immediately. And when you catch yourself doing it, have that conversation or journal about it and understand why did I do that? And mine, I know what my big part of it was, and it is that very thing. I shrink back from it because I made people uncomfortable. I've made people cry before, and I was just saying, so it's like Sheldon, the really nerdy character, how he'll just spout some stuff out and not feel. He's not mad. He doesn't feel. He's not trying to be mean. He just said it factually. It's like I almost revert back into that. And it's so contrary to my day to day who I am that it's like people are like, "Oh, what is that?" And
what's wrong with her?
Right. But now people that know me well are like, "Ooh, I need to talk to that part. I need to talk to her." But Christina knows me well enough to where I don't want that part to be who I'm because it'll mess up my creative vibe if I'm being creative, to have to move into taskmaster smart girl mode when I'm painting or I'm doing
You
I'm in
need
creative
to know
mode.
when to call her.
Right. And she's sensitive to that because my people pleasing ways will make me dial her up for somebody and ruin my own day. So don't do that either. It's hard for me to honor my creative time. And so that's something I'm working on right now, is honoring the creative time, because creativity cannot be time blocked.
Yep.
You can't say, okay,
it
I've got
comes
one.
whenever it wants. Yep.
I've got an hour. I'm going to have to be creative. I've got all this work to do, all this creative work. And then 45 minutes of it thinking and trying to figure out how to get into the vibe, just to get into the vibe. But I only have 15 minutes now, and then I've got to move on. And so when somebody suggests that I time block, I'm like, well, I can some stuff, but you can't. I mean, if I have a creative deadline, I got to stay in that mode or I will miss the deadline. So honor those parts of you and don't apologize for that.